You know, I think it's interesting how Wuthering Waves completely dominated the conversation on the internet because of their new character Amy, while a quiet and low-key reputation has surrounded Punishing Gray Raven for years, like a really long time. And coincidentally, that is exactly what we're going to be talking for today. The new version is coming like the storm that is approaching, titled Withering Crown. You should expect a lot of changes by the developers. Arriving on Steam officially means more than added access. It's giving purpose, straight from Kuro Games' office in China. Since Kuro has already aligned the global and China servers smoothly, the game is in a unique position. 5 years into its run, many gacha game titles become tough to start fresh. Systems get heavier over time, power creep grows extremely rampant, and the newcomers fall behind faster than a kid in a grocery store. But that is not the case here. This latest update changes everything at once. Entering the game as a newcomer or a returnee feels more natural now. Jumping in today means reaching top-tier endgame battles without taking too long. You don't need to be grinding endlessly and mindlessly until your face wrinkles. The generous flow of resources makes that possible. That openness of the game defines it more than anything else. Punishing Gray Raven is known to be generous with their players. I mean, I would know. I've been playing this game for a long time already. But you might be asking, what is new in PGR? Well, a fresh breaker class shifts how the combat meta plays out entirely, while every newcomer is given the chance to get a character for free from what my opinion is the most god-tier character selector so far introduced in the game. Instead of diving straight into Rosetta Arete systems, consider what brings us back here. How this return completely changes everything for the player base of Punishing Gray Raven. Years of battling on the surface, slogging through the mud of the Red Tide and the Frozen Waste ends now. Kuro leads us toward home. With the new update patch, the narrative returns its attention to Babylonia, the organization leading the last of mankind aboard their massive space station. This shift goes beyond mere location, by the way. The mood has escalated as ruins of old Sophiasburg resurface from beneath the ice. That name, Withering Crown, fits perfectly as a metaphor for the dying remains of the old world poking through the frost. It is this escalating tension that acts as a powerful foundation for the version's most premium editions. Now comes a change worth noticing. The way players interact with Babylonia feels different. Instead of staying stuck on a static menu screen like before, the experience now leans towards a sandbox kind of gameplay experience. This kind of game area where you have more freedom to explore and interact with things at your own pace. This feels like a completely different game than the PGR that I know, and recently opened zones such as the art museum and the military security area finally becoming accessible. The game is transitioning into something that is much more alive, you know? The world begins to breathe beyond battles. Life shows up in small details. Homes, memories, the weight of the war they're fighting. Characters are no longer just names in the mission log. The past of these characters unfolding through environments once locked away, and the war leaves marks, visible if someone looks closely. That'll be a conversation for the lore enthusiasts to have. And we gotta talk about Bianca's latest coding. And you know, most of the time, skins are just visual change, but in PGR, the skin does way more than just visual change. It is a fully voiced upgrade with its own coding story and new scene, offering a much more premium presentation than most outfits. And also, a new addition appears, an extra Ultima ring switch to her Ultima form, expanding her existing light and dark forms for the first time. With this extra stage, what looks like decoration now marks a mechanical milestone, a deliberate move that makes us look forward to the rest of this patch. And you know, if you have been playing the game for a while, spending even a short amount of time around the dark team likely means you know my baby Karenina Share. Over many seasons and update patches, she became the fixed point, you know? The one everyone filled their dark tank slot with. Yet now, with Rosetta Arete stepping in, it seems like Karenina is finally allowed to retire. Don't worry, Karenina, I still love you. More than anyone else in the game, trust me. Wait, what are you doing here? Stop listening to my conversation! Anyways, change takes hold as the meta evolves under what Kuro is calling the Breaker era. And this Breaker class, it addresses a complete change in combat. A Breaker is a specialized class designed to dismantle extra damage reduction, EDR, a hidden defensive layer that previously made high-level bosses feel like immovable objects. Rosetta Arete arrives as PGR's very first Breaker. Her specific role is to shred that reduction, stripping the boss of its armor so the rest of your team can actually do their work. It is a direct fix for the tactical frustration of hitting a defensive wall you can't bypass. What stands out most is the way she plays. Control controlling Rosetta is a heavy, high-power combat fantasy, reflected in her reinforced mechanical motion and the weighty feedback of her attacks. Her form transformation system allows her to switch between an agile humanoid form and a more sustained battle-oriented centaur stance, fitting naturally into longer combat loops. And you know, maybe some of you like this form better. I don't blame you. She is waifu after all. And in PGR, the system also introduces new resource management and gameplay flow, giving you additional power sources that significantly improve both damage and combat flexibility. Success now hinges on the finesse of piloting this frame under pressure, a skill-intensive approach that offers a refreshing change of pace for the Dark team. But right now, I want to talk about something. For those of you familiar with gacha games, may assume a free top-tier character choice means leftover content is being pushed aside. You know, often such offers highlight outdated options, older power-crept units as fresh ones arrive. But Punishing Grey Raven operates differently from the start. With its release on Steam, access feels less restricted, almost like stepping into full control without barriers. What stands out most among all of these characters is Ishmael Parhelion. Saying she performs well doesn't come close. She dominates me like a goth girl. Wait. Who put this in the script? Anyways, she is a god unit in my opinion. She is part of the Observer class, and what she does is basically like she fills a spot by adjusting herself into different roles based on what your team needs. Let's say you need a tank unit to break through the enemy lines. Well, she handles it. Lacking an amplifier support to boost your allies' output, she covers that too. Her flexibility makes her fit literally any group that you put her in. And if you start fresh on Steam, she acts like a nice safety net when things feel uncertain. Whenever there is a role gap on your team, she steps in, making your account viable from day one. And imagine that. I couldn't think of a more god unit to have in your first playthrough. And it might be tempting to treat this generosity as an isolated event. Yet a clear trend shows up on closer look. Remember when Lucia Crimson Weave was given away for completely free? With her signature weapon and her motorcycle cub alongside her leap skills, she is a literal symbol for many Punishing Grey Raven players, and she is given away for free. And not long after came Lilith Demonissa, and then Wansha Lucid Dreamer, who was the top tier ice tank when he dropped, like instantly ranked top meta. And these were not minor additions sitting on a bench. Kuro does not hand out weak options simply to fill space, you know? What gets released freely tends to match what top players rely on. They give away the meta to the players. I mean, not always, obviously, you know? But even then, I find it to be incredibly generous already. Their aim seems to be participation in the way, not making new users crawl through endless grind before feeling included. This changes how we look at this Steam release, you know, because most titles in this category drag players through an extended introductory phase, one filled with repetitive fetch quests that last for weeks and months before real progress begins. Not here, baby. Thanks to the character selector and today's reward setup, someone fresh can reach what actually matters more quicker. The endgame, which is the hardest, most rewarding content. A dedicated newcomer might arrive within literal days, at most a week. And when you look at all of this literally isn't some desperate move meant to rescue an old game. Instead, it comes across as celebration, removing nearly every barrier at the beginning, getting rid of irritating hurdles, lets players dive straight into the core experience. Kuro counts on one thing, that once people taste how the combat plays, they will stay. And truthfully, that assumption makes sense. Now, what can we say about this though? The Withering Crown update shows Punishing Grey Raven has moved far beyond its 2021 status as a hidden gem. Growth changed everything, and today the experience aligns players across regions, refines battle mechanics until they shine, then welcomes a broad new group through Steam without hesitation. What stands out isn't complicated, yet it is uncommon around here. Not only does Kuro Games show how to keep gameplay demanding, it also refuses to nickel and dime players along the way. Instead of barely holding on during a crowded 2026 landscape, they grow stronger by valuing two things often ignored: time and fairness. A title can test reflexes without treating users as revenue streams, and here in PGR, that balance exists. Now here's a change worth watching unfold. Could Rosetta Arete be reshaping the core strategy behind EDR, extra damage reduction? Because you know that thing, turning boss fights into slow crawls, and now seems easier to dismantle. If breaker characters strip away these protections so efficiently, might they start appearing on nearly every elemental roster? And then again, perhaps their role stays narrow, just a targeted fix for imbalances in dark element matchups. games. Curious what approach you will take when grabbing characters at the Steam launch. Will it be a careful plan or simply choosing Ishmael and seeing where things go? Share your thoughts below in the comment section, but that is all from me, 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!